See, I told you. Thank you, Joe. That was just beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. And now we welcome Reverend Sandra McKinney as our speaker today, and she'll be back next week, too. Reverend McKinney served Unity Christ Center in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, as an ordained Unity minister for 13 years, retiring in 2016. She served at Silent Unity for 2 years prior to entering her path into ministry. And since her retirement, she's been speaking at Unity centers and churches at St. Cloud, Minnesota, and Sheboygan, Wisconsin, while they were in the process of hiring. So she's been down this road before. She was a guest speaker last year at Unity in Shreveport, Louisiana. But she's an Iowa native, raised in Davenport and graduating from DeWitt, Iowa High School. And if you talk to her, you'll find that she has an eclectic background and many interests. And she actually currently serves on the Eau Claire County Board of Supervisors and has said, I believe in the importance of bringing Unity's message into all aspects of our lives and saying yes when asked to serve. So please give a warm UnityCR welcome to Reverend Sandra McKinney.
Good morning. And thank you, Laura. Laura was such a help in our emails back and forth as we were putting this together. I got introduced to Unity in 1975 when I had been sober for 1 year and my sponsor said, it's time to go to church. And I've been with Unity ever since. I see Unity as an incredible partnership in my recovery program. And so in June, I celebrate 45 years of sobriety. Woo! I think that means I'm really old. But I did get sober pretty young, so. Advent. I like seeing the word Advent in the word adventure. And I'm hoping that you all can go there with me, because that really describes Advent for me. I'm also kind of, having been in Unity for as long as I have, we didn't used to do Advent many years ago. And now, as I'm also involved in a lot of the more traditional churches in Eau Claire, as a president of an organization that brings faith groups together, I see we're not following the same words on Advent Sundays as some of the more traditional churches. So just my editorial for today. Advent is meant to be and can truly be an adventure that moves us into knowing, truly knowing who we are and why we're here. When I was in Unity Village in 1995, for 2 weeks of classes, then called CEP. And I know I met some of you, two sitting back there at that time, now referred to as SEE, Spiritual Enlightenment Education. Back then, that was probably a time where I was really starting my explorations, which would end up with me in ministry. And during the 2 weeks of class, you have the weekend in between, where you're just kind of, that first week you're separated from the world, you're separated from your activities that you normally would be doing. And so that weekend between those 2 weeks of classes really gives you a time to go deeper. I encourage anyone who's been to Unity Village. Awesome. If you haven't, that's something to put on your bucket list. But during that weekend between the 2 weeks of classes, I remember calling Silent Unity for prayer, asking for a prayer for guidance. What is mine to do? And I got a lovely prayer, as usual. And then she said, the person doing the prayer said, I want you to get a paper and pencil, and I want you to write this down. And now later working at Silent Unity, what she did isn't in the rule book of what you should be doing. And she said, write this down. I know when I know that I know. I wrote it down. I remember hanging up and saying some nasty words to myself. I didn't ask for a blankety-blankety riddle. But I worked with it. I think I even ended up singing it to myself over time. I know when I know that I know. I think it's a very powerful affirmation. So today, on the second Sunday of Advent, we're going to recognize and focus on peace. We lit the candle for peace. I'm really talking about that peace that really passes all understanding. The peace that Paul wrote about. Luke writes, "Let us go now to Bethlehem and see this thing that has taken place, which the Lord has made known to us." And as we look closer at Luke's account of the Christmas story, we realize that no one found the miracle of Christmas by staying home. Mary and Joseph, of course, made their journey to Nazareth. The shepherds who lived in the fields left when they heard the angel's announcement. The angels leave their heavenly home. Later, the wise men arrived from a distant country, also taking that journey. So if we can think of this time of year as the journey to Bethlehem, knowing that no one stayed safely at home. If you want that miracle of Christmas, it helps to take a few steps out of your safe comfort zone. Not physically, but beginning with that understanding that all you really want is packaged and wrapped inside of you. And the feelings to be felt at the depths beyond the surface soul of Christmas. There's available a feeling of love and oneness that is rooted in the mystical message and the meaning of Christmas. One must truly want it, sincerely invite it, ask for it, seek it, knock at the door. Then you must totally believe it's available to you, that you're worthy, and humbly give yourself over to that activity of spirit. And that's going to Bethlehem. So how do we know? How do we know when we know that we know? What is peace? What does it feel like? Have you ever really experienced it? I had an opportunity, and it was actually another trip from Eau Claire to Iowa. My daughter-in-law in 2005 lost her father, and her husband, my son, was serving in Afghanistan at the time. And so I thought it was important that I come and be there for her. It was in February. I remember getting up very early, leaving in the dark, and 20 miles outside on the interstate going south. I saw up above, a lot of lights going on up there. It didn't look right. And I was just started to pass a semi with the cruise control on at 70 miles an hour. And when I saw that lights up there, I thought, something's going on. So I just gently tapped the brake. And I was on black ice. I don't know if anyone's had an experience of black ice. It's not something I'd wish for anyone. I had no control of the car, and the car gently started moving towards the semi. And it actually bounced off of the semi. And as it bounced off, it threw the car this way, turned it 180 degrees, and down into a ditch. Now, there was snow, which was good, because it was a soft landing. But I remember that whole time feeling so at peace. There was no fear. And I said these words out loud. "Angels, here I come." I really thought it was my time. But I still can remember that feeling of peace that I had with that experience. I learned later that there were 8 vehicles up there involved, 2 on their roofs. The semi had no idea I had hit him, and he had kept going. No one was hurt in all of that. But that's my story of knowing what peace feels like. to be in an experience like that, to be totally then at peace. It's the closest I can know total peace. And of course, I believe it involves surrender also. You know, Christmas can be the best of times and the worst of times. The story of Joseph and Mary is a story of family, a story of commitment in face of difficulties. You know, families often support us during times of affliction, or sometimes afflict us in times when we wish for their support. And our feelings about Christmas can be closely related to the feelings we have about family. And that could be a good thing or a bad thing. People from happy, loving homes joyfully celebrated Christmas, and they tend to have very positive feelings about Christmas. You know, people from dysfunctional or abusive homes tend to have experiences of Christmas as stressful, disturbing, melancholy even. But one does not have to associate Christmas with one's relationship with family. I think that's important. One does not have to associate Christmas with one's relationship with family. So you can be about creating new memories for the next generation that are more positive. And remember, the word fun is in dysfunctional. Right? Laura liked that one. You know, metaphysically, Bethlehem means a realization of abundant substance. This increase of substance, ideas, and consciousness brings about a corresponding fruitfulness and abundance throughout one's entire life and affairs. A realization of abundant substance is going to Bethlehem. And when we're not sure what we want or in what direction we want to move, we might feel that there's no longer any room at the end. We may feel like a stranger in the stable, stranger maybe even to ourselves. We may feel stuck. Thomas More writes, "To remain stuck preserves us from movement into a new region of imagination and experience. The only effective response is to go deeper, to go within. Eventually, the dilemma may diminish as possibility comes into view." You know, it may be when we no longer know what to do that we come to our real work, that we begin the real journey. Again, that is going to Bethlehem. So what is our biggest deterrent? What stands in our way? What keeps us from doing the work? I believe it's our busyness and our fears. You know, especially at this time of year, we add extra shopping, cooking, card writing, parties, gift wrapping to what already are very busy lives. It's what makes us say, and I've heard this said more than once, on December 26th, "I'm so glad it's over." I just think that's the saddest thing, that we are in that place where we would say that. So what about this year? Can we find something to release? Maybe do that each Christmas season. Just one little thing to let go of. And the Christmas story does not end with the birth. The story brings us back to the reality of relationships, of family. Baby Jesus is a profound symbol for how God is related to the world. And God is present everywhere at all times. God could certainly be present with even the poorest and most helpless of infants. That's our proof. That infant would have the potential to grow in knowledge and make mystical contact with that omniscient God, mind of God. God would work through that child over a lifetime to work miracles of love and inspire the world. Now, that same spirit is within each one of us and can work through us to overcome any obstacle and achieve any height. And if you look at the baby Jesus as a symbol for the divine potential in every human, Christmas is indeed the best of times. So in our journey to Bethlehem, let us take the entire family at least in our hearts. You know, with December's arrival, we enter the season of gift giving. You know, during the month of December, many religious traditions celebrate sacred events. Judaism just celebrated Hanukkah, 8 days celebration that began on December 3rd. The Buddhists celebrate December 8th, the date. Pagans celebrate winter solstice on December 21st. Christianity, of course, Jesus' birth on December 25th. And Kwanzaa, the African American holiday, honors values to which that begins with 7 days on December 26th with candle lighting. All of those traditions include gift giving and some of the same things that we use as Christians. So because of that, I'm suggesting that we use the phrase happy holidays. Now, Merry Christmas is traditionally just for Christians. And if we can use happy holidays, then we're inclusive. You know, many of these celebrations do involve gift giving. And it is the gifts, the metaphysical gifts of the season that we want to explore. Giving and receiving. You know, since the dawn of time, people have been giving gifts. And sometimes the original purpose gets clouded, and it takes on a life of its own. Christian practice of gifts at Christmas probably originated from the three kings bringing their gifts of frankincense, gold, and myrrh. Much earlier, it was the pagan tradition surrounding solstice ceremonies that occurs at this time of year that had its own gift-giving moments. So I invite you to remember two important questions. What gifts of God am I willing to receive? And how am I willing to use them? So in order to receive, you must unwrap the gift. We have to be willing to unwrap it. If it's never unwrapped, the gift won't be of any good use. Reverend Ron Fox wrote in Signs of Mind, each of us has been given the perfect gift, one that has been made especially for us. We long to have it, yet we're very often refuse to unwrap it. So why would that be? There are probably an infinite number of reasons or excuses, but I suspect that most of us, the core reason is fear. And that gift I'm speaking of is our ability to express life to its fullest, to live with joy and exuberance, to be at peace with ourselves and with the world, and to have health and abundance. So unwrapping the gift means having a relationship with Spirit. It means living by the wisdom of ages rather than the current fad or fashion. It means living from the inside out. And it's never too late to unwrap the gift. It's a gift that never gets stale, never goes out of fashion. It's impossible to break. It remains unchanged. And it's just waiting to be opened. There are so many ways to begin untying the ribbon, to pray, to meditate, to take a class, to help a friend or a stranger. You know, simply opening your heart to God and watching what happens. Gradually you'll come to see that wisdom. In a Japanese proverb, the finest things in life are neither costly nor hard to find. And they're waiting for you, right within you. You know, you're in a period that really relates to the whole experience of Advent as you're working towards seeking your new minister. It's an exciting time. Those churches where I've been able to go and be a guest speaker have also been going through that time. It's a scary time. It's a time to really learn who you are as a community. It's a time to learn how to work together. It's a time to learn just how much a minister does. And I'd encourage everyone to really take a look at that. It's a time for any one of you out there to do this on Sunday morning, and maybe that happened last week. Was that your first time? No, okay. But yeah, if you've ever thought, hey, I could get up there and do a Sunday talk, now's the time to do that. And it's, when I was in 5th grade, the teacher called us. I was very shy, and people can't believe that now, but I was painfully shy. And I would never even raise my hand in class to speak. And we had to write to a business in the area to see if the class could come and visit. This was in 5th grade. And I wrote to Alcoa, and it's in Davenport. That's a large factory. Well, they wrote back saying, for safety reasons, we just can't have you visit, but thanks for the ask. And we had to get up in front of the class and read the letter. And that was very painful, but I got through it. A lot of shaking, a lot of nerves. And the teacher said, Mrs. Cheek, I'll never forget her, Sandra, what does Alcoa stand for? I had no clue. But I looked down at the bottom of the letter, and it was spelled down there. It was all spelled out. So I went after the first word. I couldn't pronounce it. Aluminum. And she said, you've had that letter for how long? And you don't know how to pronounce the word aluminum? By that time, I was in tears. I went back to my seat. I said, I will never get up in front of a group of people again in my life. And I didn't for 25 years. It was really my time in recovery and sitting around tables where you can pass, but they expect you to say something. So I know that now with my experience of ministry and many times having the opportunity to share in public, I've done a lot of forgiveness work around Mrs. Cheek. But that's the kind of deep inner work that we all need to do. And I think especially we all have things from childhood that still impact us today. And so as we take time for meditation, we're at that point, are we doing any little background music? Just a little light, okay? That's all helpful. I would like us to use the gift of that affirmation I received from Silent Unity. I know when I know that I know. It was a gift that guided me into my inner work. Getting out of my head, taking that journey into my heart. Sometimes that's the longest journey we can take. And it is the journey to Bethlehem. So as we begin this time of meditation, I invite you to place your feet on the floor, palms up, resting on your lap, your legs, your thighs. To relax, take a nice, deep, cleansing breath. Another breath, releasing. That very breath in which you were created. I'd like you to visualize a wrap present in your lap. How big is it? Is it tiny, like a jewelry box, or is it large enough that you could barely get your arms around it? Or somewhere in between? What color is the paper? Of course, there's a bow, beautifully tied. Spend a moment wondering, what is the gift inside? What is a spiritual gift you have within you that would enable you to express life to the fullest, to be your best self, to yourself and to the world, to have health and abundance? Gently pull now on the bow. remove the wrapping. What is this gift for today? As you remove the top of the box, know that you are opening the gift of peace. There's one message that you could share with the people of the earth. Peace is the most important gift that we can give to our world today. In the presence of peace, all things are possible. Peace is the source of all things. Find out peace within yourself, so that peace may be mirrored to the world. And are you open to receiving this gift? Are you willing to receive the gift of peace? And then how shall you use this gift? Let not your heart be troubled. Never let it be afraid. My peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. The heart and mind can find peace and harmony by contemplating the transitional nature of the true self, the supreme, brilliant, radiant, glowing, dazzling light. Inner peace shows up when we recognize the truth of our nature. As we realize our oneness with Spirit, it is that that brings us peace. Let us connect with that presence. As we spend a moment together, heart to heart, soul to soul, in the silence. We gently bring our attention back to this time and place. We do so in deep gratitude as we say, thank you, God. Amen. Thank you.